Imagine this. One silent move, no words, no effort, just pure presence, and suddenly a man feels something he can't explain, something that hooks him, pulls him, and bonds him to you in a way that no clever line or flawless look ever could. The power of pause is one of the most underestimated yet intoxicating moves a woman can make, because silence, when wrapped in confidence, is never empty. It becomes a language of its own, a language that penetrates deeper than words ever could. Most people feel compelled to fill every moment with chatter, with nervous laughter, with explanations, because silence feels vulnerable. But what they don't realize is that silence, when used with intention, doesn't create discomfort. It creates magnetism. Imagine sitting across from someone, the world humming with noise around you, yet between the two of you, there is stillness, not awkward, not cold, but electric. That pause, that moment where words are unnecessary, tells him more about you than 1,000 carefully rehearsed lines ever could. It tells him you are not desperate to perform, not scrambling to prove your worth, not terrified of what he might think. Instead, you are anchored, grounded, self-assured. You are so comfortable in your own presence that you don't need to rush to fill the air. That is what makes the pause seductive. It whispers, "I am enough," without a single word being spoken. And men, though they may never admit it outright, are deeply drawn to that energy, because confidence is not shown in how loudly you speak or how cleverly you respond. True confidence radiates in the space you are willing to hold, in the quiet power of restraint, in the subtle smile that says you know your value and you don't need validation to confirm it. Think about how most connections unfold. A man expects to be entertained, to be impressed, to hear witty comebacks and non-stop conversation. But when you break that rhythm with silence, when you pause instead of rushing to fill the gap, it unsettles him in the most delicious way. His mind starts racing, his imagination kicks in. He leans forward because suddenly he wants to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. That pause flips the dynamic. Instead of you chasing his attention, he starts chasing your thoughts. Silence makes him invest. An investment, however small, creates emotional glue. This is not about manipulation or games, it's about embodying presence. When you pause, when you let a conversation breathe, you create space for energy to build. That energy is tension. Tension is attraction. And attraction, when paired with emotional safety, is what makes a man bond. Think of the pause as the space where curiosity is born, because if you always answer too quickly, if you always explain, always reassure, you leave no room for his imagination. But when you pause, when you allow silence to linger like perfume in the air, you create mystery. Mystery doesn't come from being distant or aloof. It comes from your ability to withhold without fear, to reveal slowly, to let him discover you piece by piece instead of all at once. And here is where the real magic lies. A pause doesn't just impact him, it impacts you. It gives you control over your energy, your words, your presence. It lets you breathe, observe, and respond from power instead of from pressure. In that pause, you become aware of your body, your posture, your gaze, your subtle smile, and those elements together create a far louder statement than words ever could. A woman who knows how to pause tells the world she is not rushed, not easily shaken, not desperate to be seen. She is already seen, already whole, already magnetic, and that is exactly the kind of presence a man will remember, crave, and hold on to long after the conversation is over. Eye contact that lingers is not just about looking at someone, it is about piercing through them in a way that makes them feel chosen, seen, and desired without a single word being spoken. Most people glance, they flick their eyes and move on quickly, afraid of being caught in the raw intimacy that eye contact creates. But when you linger, when you let your eyes rest on his for just a heartbeat longer than expected, something primal awakens. It is subtle, it is daring, and it sends a message louder than any flirtatious line could ever deliver. It says, I see you, I'm not afraid of being seen, and I'm confident enough to stay here in this moment with you. That is electricity. That is where attraction begins to feel like gravity. Men are used to surface level exchanges, a glance here, a smile there, polite attention that flits in and out like static. But when your eyes hold his, even for a fraction longer, it disrupts the normal rhythm of interaction. It makes him pause, it pulls him in, and it leaves him wondering if what he felt in that instant was real or imagined. That curiosity alone is intoxicating because it anchors his focus on you. He wants to decode what just happened. He wants to feel it again, and suddenly he finds himself leaning into you without understanding why. The lingering gaze creates anticipation, and anticipation is the heartbeat of desire. The beauty of lingering eye contact is that it's both bold and vulnerable at the same time. Bold because it takes courage to hold your ground and let your eyes speak. Vulnerable because you are opening a window into your emotions, your attention, your interest. That paradox is irresistible. A man will feel a rush of adrenaline because your gaze is not passive, it's active, it's alive, and it demands presence. It invites him to step out of his head and into the moment with you. And in a world where everyone is distracted, everyone is half present, that level of focus feels addictive. There is also a rhythm to it. The secret is not in staring him down, but in letting your eyes dance between intensity and playfulness. A slight smile, a softening of your gaze, then a hold that lingers just long enough to spark tension before you look away. That look away is powerful because it lets him feel the loss of your attention. He notices the absence, and when he notices, he wants it back. This push and pull of lingering eye contact is what builds emotional chemistry, the kind that makes him feel like he is in on a secret with you, even if nothing has been spoken. Beyond the physical charge, eye contact that lingers creates intimacy faster than almost anything else. Words can be rehearsed, gestures can be copied, but eyes never lie. When you hold his gaze, you are telling him you are fully there, not distracted, not guarded, not pretending. That authenticity is rare, and men crave it more than they admit. It reassures him on a deep level that you are someone he can trust, while simultaneously igniting the kind of attraction that goes beyond surface charm. What makes it unforgettable is how it makes him feel about himself. A lingering gaze makes a man feel wanted, admired, and significant, and people bond not with those who impress them, but with those who make them feel alive, powerful, and seen. Your gaze becomes the mirror that reflects back his best self. It becomes the silent thread that ties his heart to yours, because every time your eyes linger, you remind him that in that moment, nothing else in the world exists but the two of you. The subtle touch is one of the most electrifying tools of connection, because it speaks a language that bypasses the mind and goes straight to the body. It is never loud, never aggressive, and never desperate. It is light, fleeting, almost accidental, yet it lingers in his memory long after it happens. A brush of your hand against his arm, the accidental graze of your fingers when you pass something to him, the gentle pressure on his back as you lean in closer to speak. These moments ignite sparks that words cannot compete with. It's not about the touch itself, it's about the energy it carries, because a subtle touch has the power to suggest intimacy without demanding it, to create closeness without declaring it. What makes it so powerful is that it is unexpected. Men are accustomed to grand gestures, to overt signals, to obvious cues. But when your touch slips in softly, almost unnoticed at first, it catches him off guard in the most thrilling way. His body registers it before his mind has time to rationalize, and that creates a visceral reaction. The hairs on his arm might rise, his breath might quicken, his chest might tighten just slightly. That That rush is not just physical, it's emotional, because it tells him on some unconscious level that you feel comfortable enough to close the gap, that you are allowing him into your space, that you are granting him a level of access that is not given to just anyone. The beauty of the subtle touch lies in its restraint. Too much, too soon, and it feels forced or heavy-handed. Too little, and it passes unnoticed. But the perfect subtle touch is like a spark from flint. It's quick, it's light, but it has the potential to set the entire interaction on fire. Imagine the contrast. One moment the air between you is normal, casual, and then with a simple brush of your fingers, everything shifts. The conversation suddenly feels charged. The silence suddenly feels heavier. His focus sharpens. You didn't have to say anything. You didn't have to perform. You just altered the energy with something as simple as a touch. Another reason it's unforgettable is because touch has memory. Long after a conversation ends, long after words fade, the body remembers the places it was touched. That light brush on his arm replays in his mind like a loop. He'll find himself thinking about it when he least expects, feeling again the warmth of your skin, the softness of that moment, and because it was so subtle, his imagination takes over. He starts to wonder if you meant it, if it was deliberate, if you felt the same charge he did. That curiosity ties him to you, because the mind craves answers, and the only way to get them is to be near you again. The subtle touch also communicates confidence. It shows that you are not afraid of physical closeness, that you are at ease in your own body, that you can lean into intimacy without hesitation. Men bond with women who make them feel both desired and safe, and a subtle touch does exactly that. It reassures him that he is wanted, while keeping things light and playful, without pressure or expectation. It leaves the door open for him to lean in further, to meet your energy, to invest more of himself into the connection. What makes it irresistible is the way it bridges the gap between friendship and attraction, between casual and intimate. Words can keep things in the realm of conversation, but touch moves it into the realm of feeling. It's a bridge he cannot ignore, a shift he cannot unexperience. That fleeting contact becomes the seed of longing, the thread of memory, the silent move that keeps pulling him back toward you. The mystery factor is what keeps a man leaning in, hungry for more, because desire is born in the space between what is revealed and what is withheld. When everything is handed over too quickly, when every detail of your life, every thought, every emotion is laid bare in the beginning, the intrigue dissolves before it even has a chance to grow. But when you hold back just enough, when you leave room for him to wonder, to imagine, to pursue, you create an energy that is irresistible. Mystery is not about being distant or cold. It's about pacing the revelation of who you are, about allowing him to unwrap the layers over time instead of dumping them all at once. It's the difference between a sparkler that burns out in seconds and a slow flame that keeps glowing, pulling him closer with every flicker. The reason mystery bonds so deeply is because the human mind craves discovery. When something feels like a puzzle, we invest more time and energy into it. When something feels like it has layers, we want to peel them back one by one. Men, just like women, are wired to chase what captures their imagination. If you show him that you are multidimensional, that there is more to you than what he can see at first glance, he will not only be attracted, he will be captivated. It's the unknown that keeps him thinking about you long after you've left the room, replaying conversations, noticing details, trying to decode the things you didn't say. Mystery also works because it shifts the power dynamic. Most people try too hard to impress, oversharing stories, achievements, vulnerabilities, hoping to create closeness quickly. But closeness born from oversharing often burns out just as quickly because it lacks the natural rhythm of discovery. When you give him everything at once, he doesn't have to work for it, and what is easily attained is rarely deeply valued. But when you reveal yourself slowly, when you let him earn pieces of your world, he invests more of himself in the process. That investment creates attachment. That bond is built not on instant gratification, but on anticipation. And anticipation is the heartbeat of desire. Think about how attraction feels in its purest form. It's not the certainty of knowing everything. It's the thrill of not knowing what comes next. It's the moment you wonder what his next move will be, or when he wonders what your silence meant. That's the feeling mystery creates. It's a silent invitation, a soft tension, an unspoken challenge that makes him pay closer attention. Suddenly, every word, every glance, every small detail becomes loaded with meaning because he is trying to read between the lines, trying to catch a glimpse of the parts you haven't yet revealed. And it's important to understand that mystery doesn't mean being fake or playing games. It's not about creating walls or pretending to be someone you're not. True mystery is about authenticity with boundaries. It's about being real without being reckless with your openness. It's about knowing that your essence, your stories, your emotions are precious, and that the right person will earn the privilege of seeing them unfold. When you live this way, you naturally radiate an aura that is magnetic, because people can sense when someone has depth, when someone carries more than meets the eye. The mystery factor is what transforms an interaction from forgettable to unforgettable. It is what keeps him awake at night, scrolling back through memories of your time together, smiling at the thought that he doesn't fully know you yet, but desperately wants to. It ties him to you, not through obligation, but through fascination, because fascination is stronger than any spoken promise. It's the element that makes him bond, not because he feels he has you, but because he feels he is always on the edge of discovering you. Presence over performance is the difference between a connection that feels real and one that feels like an audition, and men can sense it instantly. Too often people step into dating with the subconscious goal of impressing, of putting on a show, of proving they are funny enough, interesting enough, beautiful enough, worthy enough. The problem is performance is exhausting to maintain and transparent to those on the receiving end. When you are performing, you're not really there. You're anticipating reactions, you're filtering yourself, you're chasing approval. But when you choose presence, when you ground yourself in the moment and simply allow who you are to flow naturally, something magnetic happens. He doesn't feel like he's watching a show, he feels like he's experiencing you, and that difference is what builds a bond he doesn't want to let go of. Presence is about being fully tuned into the moment, not lost in your head, not worrying about what comes next, not planning the perfect reply. It's the energy of someone who can laugh fully without calculating how it looks, who can listen without thinking of what to say next, who can enjoy silence without scrambling to fill it. That kind of energy is rare in a world filled with distractions and insecurities. When you are present, you make him feel like he matters, like his words carry weight, like his company is enough. And men, no matter how tough or confident they appear, crave that feeling of being enough. Presence gives him permission to lower his guard, to stop performing himself, and in that shared authenticity, real connection is born. The beauty of presence is that it doesn't require you to be perfect. In fact, it thrives in imperfection. A stumble over your words, a spontaneous laugh, an unfiltered reaction. These are the moments that make you human, approachable, unforgettable. Performance tries to polish those edges, to hide them, to package you neatly. But presence allows those edges to shine, and those are the very things that make someone feel they're connecting with a real person, not a version carefully curated for approval. Men bond not with the flawless image of someone, but with the reality of them, the quirks, the raw moments, the truth. Performance also creates pressure, and pressure suffocates attraction. When someone feels like they are being tested or dazzled, it creates distance rather than closeness. Presence presence removes that pressure. It says, I don't need to impress you, I just want to share this moment with you. That creates safety, and safety is as seductive as chemistry, because once he feels safe in your energy, once he feels he doesn't need to measure up or perform for you either, he begins to relax, to open, to trust. Trust is the foundation of any bond worth keeping, and presence is the soil that allows it to grow. Presence over performance also shifts the balance of power. A performer is always dependent on the audience, needing their reaction to feel validated. But someone who is present holds their own power because they are not looking outward for approval. They are simply embodying themselves. That self-assuredness is magnetic because it shows him you are not trying to win him, you are inviting him. You are not selling yourself, you are sharing yourself. That shift changes everything, because instead of feeling like he is evaluating you, he feels like he is being welcomed into your world, and that is a world he doesn't want to leave. The reason presence makes a man bond forever is simple. People remember how you make them feel, and presence makes him feel alive, grounded, seen, and free. When he is with someone who is present, time disappears, walls fall, and connection feels effortless. And that experience is so rare, so addictive, that it carves itself into his memory, making him return not because he has to, but because he can't stay away. The silent move is the kind of gesture that doesn't shout for attention, yet it captures him completely because it cuts through the noise of a world that is constantly demanding, performing, and chasing. In an age where most people are quick to fill every gap with chatter, validation, or distraction, choosing stillness is like stepping into another frequency. It is not silence that is empty, it is silence that is charged, the kind of silence that tells him without words that you are grounded, that you are sure of yourself, that you do not need to grasp for connection, you already embody it. Men bond deeply when they encounter a presence that feels like an anchor, and silence used with confidence creates exactly that. This move works because it disrupts expectation. Most people expect rapid responses, quick affirmations, and continuous entertainment. But when you pause, when you simply sit in a moment and let it breathe, it shifts the entire dynamic. He finds himself leaning into you, curious, slightly unsettled, even captivated, because the energy feels different. Instead of being pulled into a rush, he feels drawn into calm, and calm is magnetic when it comes from someone who radiates strength. That kind of silence is not passive, it is active, alive, and it creates a tension that pulls him closer without him even realizing why. The silent move is also powerful because it communicates self-control. Anyone can spill every thought, explain every feeling, and reveal every detail of themselves in a rush, but restraint shows a higher level of confidence. When you are silent at the right moment, you are saying, I choose what I share, I choose when I speak, I choose how I reveal myself. That choice is alluring because it makes him feel like there is more to uncover, like you are not fully in his grasp. And that sense of discovery fuels attraction. Men are wired to pursue, and silence gives them the room to do exactly that. What he remembers most is not just the silence itself, but how it made him feel. A confident pause, a moment where your eyes hold his without rushing to speak, a stillness that lingers between sentences. These create intensity. In those seconds, he feels the weight of the moment. He feels your presence. He feels himself becoming more invested. That is the glue that bonds him, because connection is not built only on words, it is built on energy, and energy is felt most strongly in the spaces between. Silence gives those spaces power. Another layer to this is mystery. Silence makes him wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you might say next. It invites his imagination to fill the gap. And imagination is a powerful tool in attraction. Instead of handing him everything, You allow him to lean into the unknown, to project, to fantasize, to anticipate. That sense of wonder makes him hold on to the connection more tightly because it's not predictable, it's not ordinary, it's something that makes his heart beat differently. The silent move doesn't just affect him, it affects you. It gives you control of the rhythm. It lets you slow down, to stay composed, to remain centered even if the interaction is charged. That calmness is captivating because it shows you are not swept away by the moment. You are leading it with grace. Men are drawn to women who can hold space, who can be both strong and soft, who can create a container where emotions and attraction can expand. Silence, used as a move, does exactly that. This is why stillness in a noisy world bonds him to you forever. Because while words fade and gestures blur, he will never forget how you made him feel in that moment of quiet intensity, when everything around him disappeared and all he could focus on was you. So in the end, it isn't the clever lines, the perfect timing, or the polished performance that make a man bond with you forever. It's the unspoken moves, the pause that makes him lean closer, the gaze that lingers longer than words, the touch that feels accidental but lingers in his body, the mystery that keeps him coming back, the presence that makes him feel seen, and the silence that anchors him to you. These are not tricks, they are signals of a woman who knows her power and doesn't need to chase to be chosen. And when you embody that, when you live in that quiet, confident energy, he doesn't just want to be around you, he feels he has to be, because you've given him something rare, something unforgettable, something he can't find anywhere else. That is the move that makes him bond forever.